Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel. My name is Haze and welcome to the Procreate Basic series. Today is episode 16. So today is all about transformation in Procreate, which means we learn how to move, resize, transform, all about freeform, uniform, and how to distort and warp, and how to commit our transformation. And also we will learn all about magnetics and snapping. So before we get started, remember to comment, like, and subscribe. And let's begin.
So to start today's lesson, we're going to launch Procreate and I have a project ready for us to tinker around with. So today we're going to learn all about the transform tool. First, let's find out what is the transform tool. To access the transform tool, it is this button here, which is an arrow icon. So if you tap on it, you will be able to access the transform tool. So using the transform tool, you can move things around, resize them, rotate them, and do a couple of other things as well. But first, let's talk about what you can transform. So there are actually three things that you can transform. First is you can transform a layer. So now I've randomly picked a layer already, and if I tap on transform, I can move just this layer and transform it as well. Another thing you can transform is the group itself. So if I select the entire group of layers, I can transform the entire group as well. Or you can select multiple groups or multiple layers by just sliding left, and then you can transform these elements as well. Another thing that you can transform is using the selection tool. So let's say I want to transform just this fish. So I'm selecting this layer. Go to the selection mode. I'm going to tap on this button here, the selection button. I'm going to draw a border around the fish that I want to transform. Once I've decided that I want to transform this fish, I'm going to tap on the transform button, and now I can transform the fish freely. But now I'm only transforming and moving around the color of the fish, but it does not include the line of the fish. The reason for that is because the color is in one layer, the line is in another. So is there a way that we can do the same thing to all this without merging the layers? Actually, we can. So we can actually select the group itself, tap on the selection button, do the same thing, select this fish, and now when we transform, we are transforming just this fish. This is called selecting within the group. So I'll cover selections more in depth later in my next tutorial. So now we know what we can transform. It's time to learn the details of all the things that this tool can do for us. So we're just going to focus on this yellow fish right here. Let me make a selection again. Okay, now if you tap on the transform button, we can see that there's a few options here. So there's freeform, uniform, distort, and warp. So if we are using the freeform, we can move it as usual, rotate it as usual, but when you resize it, you are actually resizing it in a freeform method. Like you can actually compress it and make it really thin, or make it really fat like this. So basically you can't retain the original dimension of the image itself. But if you're using the uniform transformation, as you are resizing, you are retaining the dimension of the image itself, which will not distort the image at all. Then we have the distort function. So if you tap on distort, you can find that you are able to distort the boundaries itself. So to distort, you can just start by tapping on any of the blue dots here, and you can distort it for a more perspective view maybe, or you want to adjust your painting. So this is how you can distort your image. And then lastly, we have the warp function. So the warp function, you can basically warp the image itself. So this is more useful if you want to adjust like the features of a portrait, or let's say I want the tails to be a lot longer. So if I want the tails to be a lot longer, I would use the warp function. So I would do this and change the fins itself. So this is how you can play with the warp function. And if you want a slightly more advanced mesh, you can tap on advanced mesh. And then now you can control it by dragging the blue dots, and you actually have a handle on every single grid. So this is a more refined way for you to adjust your warp. So to confirm your transformation, all you have to do is tap on the transform button again, and then after that you can see that the transformation are already set in place, and if you want to undo it, you can just tap it like this. While you are in the transformation tool, you can also undo the transformation bit by bit, but once it's set, it will just undo the entire transformation itself. Okay, now we're going to talk about all the other functions. Let's leave it at uniform for now. So if I tap on flip horizontal, it's just going to flip it like a mirror like this. And flip vertical will flip it the other way around, which is towards the top or the bottom. So you can also rotate it by 45 degrees increment, and you can also set something to fit to screen. So let's say I want this fish to be really big. I can tap on fit to screen and you automatically resize this image itself to fit the entire screen. So now I'm going to show you how I navigate around once I am moving something. So now that this fish is selected, take note of what happens if I use my fingers inside the bounding box. It will actually resize the fish. But what happens if I use my fingers outside the bounding box? I'm actually resizing the canvas instead. I can still move the canvas around using two fingers like this, but if I use one finger, I am actually moving the item already. But if you use your Apple Pencil, tapping it outside the box will still move the item itself. And now if you see here, we have two handles. One is a green handle and one is a yellow handle. So the green handle is for you to manipulate the rotation. You can drag it and rotate it. But the yellow handle is actually for you to rotate the box itself. So let's say I want to rotate it. And you notice that when I'm rotating it, the size of the bounding box keeps changing to fit the fish automatically. So I can have it like this. And then once I like it this way, I can then rotate it using the green handle, resize it, or do whatever I want. Let me just select this flower here. Let's zoom in. Okay, when you tap on the snapping button, you can see that everything is turned off. So what happens if I turn on magnetics? You can see that it's snapping to this blue line right now when I'm dragging it because of the snap. And if I drag it down a little bit, there's another blue line here that is angled that I can snap. So this blue line will keep changing and it will help you in snapping along a certain line. So just bear in mind that if you turn off your magnetics, you won't get the blue line here to guide you while you're moving. And if you turn it on, you will have the blue line now for you to move your object. And now we're going to talk about snapping. So right now, if I turn on these settings here, I've turned on snapping, magnetics is off. So I have this red flower here. And if you move it around, you can immediately see like these two crosshair here where you can snap to if you want to just snap like this, or you can just snap right to center, and you can snap to the edge as well, the corners. These two settings is actually for snapping. So the distance means that if it's 17 pixels close to any lines, it will snap. But if you set it to like 1, it needs to be as close as 1 pixel next to the line, then only it will snap. So it won't snap as easily. Like you see, it is barely snapping at all. But if you set it to real high, then it will be very snappy like this. Like you just keep snapping. And the velocity just means that how free you can move around the canvas. So right now it's set to max. So max just means that it will really snap around very easily. But if you set it to real low, it will seldom snap. You see, it's not even snapping at all. So usually I just set it to max. When I want to snap to something, it's easier that way. Okay, so what other things can we do other than snapping to these yellow lines? We can actually snap to objects. So let's turn on the objects. And now I have two blue flowers here. And if I move my flower right below to this blue flower, you can see it automatically aligns to the blue flower already. And here up here, it will also automatically align to the left of the blue flower. And I can also automatically place the object right on top of the existing object. So you automatically just snap there if you want to match something, let's say. So this is really handy if you want to use this feature.
Thank you so much for watching today's tutorial. You guys have been a blast. It is already 16 days and tomorrow we will be continuing in our journey in Procreate, learning all about selection. So see you tomorrow, but please remember to subscribe, comment and like. Bye!